Yeah, welcome back everybody to unfortunately one of the hardest chapters I can talk about, the Erasmus Depression. Maybe you're watching this video because you are going on Erasmus, you just heard about the Erasmus Depression, or you just arrived, but this video is for everybody who is just returning right now, because the first semester is just over. A lot of people are going home now and the Erasmus is ending for those people. I want to share with you guys a few things that I learned when I returned after my first Erasmus, because right now on my second, that you basically don't do the same mistakes that I did, that I wasted so much time back home. I have to be real with you guys, as hard as it is, and I wish somebody would have told me that when I returned, but your Erasmus is over. That's it. There's no way you can ever go back to this period of time in your life. You can look at pictures, you can have meetings, but let me be very clear, this period is over. And your life as it was before you went on Erasmus is over. You can try to go back, but you learned so many new things and you changed in so many different ways that it makes it more or less impossible to go back. You can adapt to it, but this is basically where the Erasmus Depression comes in, when you see this difference. So let me break it down for you what's happening in the next couple of weeks. You go home, basically everybody is excited that you're coming back and wants to see you, wants to meet with you. Everything is crazy, you're so happy that you're back home. After 2 or 3 weeks, the normal life starts and basically bitch slaps you awake. And then you realize in maybe 2 or 3 weeks after you return that your Erasmus is actually over. A lot of people start comparing what they find back home to their Erasmus. I did that for ages, for a month, that I was always talking about, man, when I was on Erasmus, this was so cool. When I was on Erasmus, this was so cool. And when I was there, Erasmus. My friend, of course, got angry about it, and I was always talking about it, how awesome it was, basically at the same time telling how boring the situation now is. The biggest mistake I think to do is to compare your post-Erasmus life to your Erasmus. These are 2 different chapters, so your Erasmus is over, and keep this as precious as it is, as beautiful as this time is. When you're back home, a new chapter begins, right? Please, if you're in this new chapter, don't compare it to what was. Like, take it as it is. Otherwise, you will always see it's more boring, it's whatever, you know? And the biggest problem about this, if you always compare it to your Erasmus, you are not in the moment anymore. And when you went on Erasmus, you were in the moment, basically. You're going to a party and you enjoyed the moment at the party with those people, and that makes it so special. If you're back home and you're back still in Erasmus, you're not there. This cost me so much time, because for month and month I was really mentally still there and I wanted to go back and whatever. So please don't do this when you're coming back home. The second part is, afterwards, when I saw that, okay, this is a different thing, I tried to make my time now as hard as I could, as it was on my Erasmus. And again, instead of just comparing it, you try to force something on your situation, on your new life, that just can't be. Of course, there are a lot of ways. For example, I joined the Erasmus Student Network, so I was getting in touch, I kept in touch with all the exchange students, and even in my hometown, I lost really a lot of friends after that time, because it just didn't work anymore. My mind was completely changed in a way. Basically, you're like Alice coming home from Wonderland. And if you would tell anybody back home how it was, what you see, what you did, nobody believes you. But you still know what's possible, right? So what I did, I was starting to travel. I started to visit all my friends from everywhere. I think that was the first moment of greatness that I saw coming from my Erasmus. But in the 10 months afterwards, I was traveling every month, and I went to 10 different countries in less than a year. I started traveling like a madman, because in this sense, I was running away from my situation. I was facing the situation back home, I couldn't deal with it, and I was really running away from it and traveling all the time. And I asked all of my friends the whole time, come with me, let's go, let's do something, let's do it. And there's this mentality that you can always do it tomorrow, right? And when you're back home, you know, okay, let's do it now. And there's no, let's do it tomorrow anymore. I remember, I had a couch surfer, and he said at some point very clearly that, man, you're living in the past. That's basically the first stuff I said as well, but please don't do this. Just, it's going to be a hard time. You can go through it and just take it as it is. Leave it and look forward to what's coming. Because the greatness that you take out of it is that you know that a different situation is possible. Now, with what you've learned, like the mindset you have, like, okay, let's do it, like, let's use the time we have, right? That makes everything so much more beautiful. I remember, like, once I was kind of over the Erasmus depression, right? I like actually started to enjoy the time I had 100 times more than ever before, like in any point of my life. Even though a hard time is coming, a really hard time, remember, the best is yet to come, and use the time you have after your Erasmus. You now know everybody everywhere. You can travel all across the world now. You know how easy it is. You can fly like everywhere. You can sleep at couches and just use the time you have, right? This is why I can say, like, once Erasmus, always Erasmus. Because in this sense, even your Erasmus period might be over, you take this one thing with you. And in this sense, Erasmus never ends.